What's up, everyone? If you don't already know, my name is Prereq. I am a second-year student here at the Yale School of Medicine, and today's video is going to be all about the pros and cons about the Yale School of Medicine. Let's do it! Of course, I have to give a disclaimer before this video starts. I am a student at Yale. These are all my opinions. Some of them are objective facts, but most of them are my opinions on the way things work here. Everything I'm about to say applies to the first 1.5 years here at Yale. And that's because the preclinical curriculum is only 1.5 years long. I've been through all of it, so everything I'm saying, again, is a reflection of what I've been through. All right, let's go. Pro number 1, the Yale system. For anyone who looks up the Yale School of Medicine online, you'll see that our educational philosophy is based on what we like to call the Yale system. And I knew for a fact that when I applied to Yale and I read into this, I instantly realized that Yale was unlike any other medical school I had ever read about. So what exactly is the Yale system? The Yale system is this underlying philosophy of education here at Yale, which is the fact that they treat us all as competent individuals that want to be here and therefore should have internal motivation to learn everything we want to learn. And so because of that, lectures are optional, because if you don't learn well through lectures, you can learn well through whatever means you think is helpful for you. Because of that, because of the Yale system, we also don't have very many tests. We have weekly quizzes and we have big exams every 3 to 4 months. The quizzes are optional to take, and the big exams that we have to take every 3 to 4 months, we do have to pass. But those exams, again, here's what's crazy. Those exams are actually taken on an iPad at home or wherever you really want to take them, and you take them at your own convenience. They open up on like a Thursday and they close on a Monday. So what that gives you is flexibility to, first of all, learn at your own pace. Second of all, you get to take the exam on your own choosing. Of course, you have to take it closed book. You do have to treat it like a real test. But the point is, they take off that pressure of coming into a room and taking a test with everyone else. The underlying aspect of the Yale system that I really appreciate is the freedom that it opens up. If you average out the overall amount of stuff that I actually have to go to in terms of attending mandatory stuff, it averages out to about maybe 2 hours a day. The rest of my day is about as free as I want it to be. I can go to the classes that are planned, but I also don't have to, because I can learn the way I want to learn best. And that's actually one of the reasons why I can do Anki for 4 to 5 hours a day that I did do in my preclinical that you might not be able to do at other schools, because you do have a set curriculum. Here at Yale, you don't necessarily have a set curriculum. I think that's a really big positive. Other people might think that's a really big negative, and I'm going to go into that in the cons. But the point is, the Yale system gives you a lot of freedom. We don't have mandatory classes, we don't have that many exams, and everyone here is expected to learn for the sake of learning and expected to have intrinsic motivation to learn and not necessarily learn for a test. And I really appreciate that, because it gave me more time to do what I want, it gave me more time to do research, it gave me more time to study the way I want to study, and it gave me more time to hang out with friends, go to the gym, and prioritize self-care that I wanted to prioritize without feeling the need to live up to this external agenda that had been defined for me. And that is the beauty of the Yale system. That's something that I love. I remember at Berkeley, I was stressed out of my mind. Every exam would give me test anxiety. I would just be like living day to day trying to study for the next exam. And at Yale, sure, I studied my butt off. I'd grinded my butt off for these last 2 years, but I've never felt even once, even a tenth of the pressure that I felt at UC Berkeley, because everything here is self-imposed. I learned to the best of my ability. We don't have that many tests. If you did like structure and you did want to go to class, you did want to go to workshop, you can go. And I actually did go to a lot of those things. But the point is, I didn't have to, because they give us that freedom and autonomy, because they expect us to make our own decisions as to the learners we are. Pro number 2, there's absolutely no competition. Our class is 104 students and probably one of the smartest 103 other people I've ever met. But the point is, there is no aspect of competition between any of us, because first of all, there's no internal class ranking. A lot of medical schools have internal class ranking. What that means is, even if a school is pass-fail, they might still be keeping track of who the best students are so that they can actually rank students when they send out residency letters. Yale does not do that, and a lot of other schools don't do that also. And I really appreciate that, because that doesn't impose pressure on me. When you're in med school, you're already competing against people that got into med school, and that is really hard to do. I came from Berkeley. There was competition there, and I suffer from severe imposter syndrome. And the last thing I wanted was to come to a med school and feel it all over again, because the material chokes you. There's so much more to know. There's so much smarter people, and there's just so much more anxiety that can come with it, that I'm so glad that Yale has none of that. I've felt zero anxiety. I've been able to learn just as much, and I've been able to do it without feeling like I'm up against the wall. And that's lovely. I personally love that. Yale also ensures we have no competition because we don't have this thing called AOA. If you're a medical student, or if you're going to be a medical student, or you're applying to med school, every school you interview at, you should ask if they have AOA. Because a lot of schools now are all pass-fail within the first 2 years, but they still have this thing called AOA, which basically is an honor society for medical students, and only the top certain percent of the class get in. So if a school is pass-fail, but there's still AOA, that kind of implies that even though they're pass-fail, they might still be keeping track of ranking somehow. And in that sense, it's not really pass-fail because you're still competing. So that's what I don't get. But Yale does not have that. Some schools do. I strongly recommend that when you interview for med schools, it is your right to know if they have AOA, because that influences you. Some people do like having AOA because it motivates them to compete and motivates them to get out the big guns and get number one. I'm not like that. I personally don't get motivation from trying to be the best. I get motivation from just learning everything to the best of my ability. And so Yale doesn't have AOA, and I was like, hallelujah. I don't want to compete against 103 other Yale medical students because that is the worst nightmare I could think of, and we never have that. And so it's just nice to be in an environment where I know I'm not competing against these really smart people, because that can really get to you. Imagine having to go up against some of the smartest people in the world and be like, oh, by the way, only 10% of you get honors. Figure it out. And that's like a nightmare. They really preach that you are not defined by grades, you're not defined by letters, and you're not defined by your peers. You should all be working together. And that's something that I really, really value a lot. Yeah, I'm going to have to take my sweater off because it's just too warm. But anyway, pro number 3 is the culture here at Yale. And I don't mean academic culture. I don't mean social culture. I mean the overall culture. It's a culture of actually caring. It's a culture of just limitless love, which is really weird to say, but let me tell you why this means so much to me. When I ruptured my Achilles tendon at the beginning of my first year of medical school, I was thinking that I would have to take a year off. And that actually did happen. You should watch that video up there. But I ruptured my Achilles tendon in pretty much the first week of medical school, and I was scared out of my mind. And what ended up happening was I had the dean's number, because the dean gives us her number on the first day of school. So I call up the dean and I say, I ruptured my tendon. I'm really scared. I think I'm going to need to get surgery. I might need to stop. And all she said was, you know what? Text me your name, because she didn't even know my name yet. You know, it was like the first week of school, and she instantly was like, you're a med student, text me your name. We'll figure this out. I text her my name. She not only got me seen at the ER, because she pretty much texted other doctors, she got me seen at the ER. She then arranged my meeting with an orthopedic surgeon. I had surgery within a week because of the fact that the dean cared. The orthopedic surgeon, he was the second busiest surgeon at Yale, because he does 8 to 10 procedures every 3 days of the week. And when I called his secretary initially told me he was booked until January. For context, my Achilles tendon ruptured in September. So I was like, oh my God, how is this surgeon going to treat me? But then the next day, the surgeon emailed me and he was like, dude, don't even worry about it. I know your situation. I know you're a med student. I know you have to get back into the classroom. And I know that you're here at Yale. And our whole priority is to get you back, because the dean talked to me about this. And I was like, wow, I feel so lucky and grateful that I'm part of this community that values me so much. I was thinking that I would have to take a year off, but within a week, I had gotten surgery from the second busiest surgeon here. I was already in my bed, and then the dean emailed me and made sure I was okay. She hooked me up with transportation 23 hours a day, 6 days a week. So even though I was in my bed and doing med school from my bed, I was still able to go to my mandatory sessions that I had throughout the first 6 months. And I think this also speaks to what exactly the Yale system was, because I was able to do my medical school curriculum from my bed. I was able to watch lectures from my bed. I was able to take my tests from my bed. I was able to do research from my bed. I was able to do everything from my bed. And that, again, is kind of reinforcing pro number 1, which is the Yale system. There's not a lot of things that are mandatory for you to do. It's mostly up to you, and it gives you the flexibility if and when you have something crazy come up, you can still be in med school. And that blew my mind, because at any other med school, maybe, there might have been other stuff that I had to do. They might not have had the resources or the culture that promoted this level of self-care. And I distinctly remember the dean even calling me and saying, don't worry about school right now. Focus on your health. And having come from a school that had 35,000 students, having a professor call me and tell me to value my own care over academics, that really meant a lot to me. That is the culture that exists here at Yale. It's a culture that really cares for each and every student. We know that students have more to their life than just being students. And I think this school takes it very seriously to make it a priority that you make sure you address your own health concerns first, and you address issues that come up in your life first. Because if you can't take care of yourself, you can't take care of other people. And I think it says even more that they have faculty here that make sure that this policy is enforced. First of all, the orthopedic surgeon saw me right away. the dean made sure that I was okay, not only before the surgery, during the surgery, but also after the surgery. And there was no way I would be able to do med school from my bed. Like, I was blown away. I did med school from my bed. Like, would I be able to do that anywhere else? I don't know. But is another reason I am in love with this school. If you go to my Instagram right now, it's linked below, you'll see pictures I have with multiple faculty here at Yale who I'm on like pretty much a first name basis with, or I text them all the time. And that's because the culture here is that I get treated like a peer. I don't get treated like a student. I get treated like a future colleague from a lot of these doctors. They treat me like with respect, which is weird to say because to be honest, I wasn't even expecting that level of respect. But I think it's a culture here where every doctor take the med students seriously. And if you reach out, they do like mentoring. And I kid you not when I say on my Instagram, I have over 10 to 20 people who will give me mentorship, who, if anything comes up in my life, I don't hesitate to let them know because I'm like, hey, this is affecting me, because they care for me on that level. And I think that culture is just something that, again, I just can't get over. So now it's time for the cons. The first con I've already alluded to, it's actually the Yale system itself. So now this is kind of confusing, right? Because the Yale system was actually a huge pro, but it can also be a huge con. And this is what I mean by you have to know yourself and you have to know if you're going to succeed at Yale. A lot of the people that get into Yale, they do well with deadlines. They do well with tests. They do well with having a strict curriculum that they need to adhere to. So it's very important for you to figure out, are you the type of person that would benefit from the freedom that the Yale system provides? Or are you the type of person that might not benefit? Because there are some students here at Yale that might not like the freedom. They probably don't appreciate the fact that they don't exactly know what they have to do because there's just so many options that you could be doing. There are other med schools that from 8 to 5 every day, their whole schedule is scripted for them. And some people at Yale, I kid you not, some of my classmates might even like that more. It all depends on you. Some people actually think of the Yale system as a con because there might be too much freedom. There might be not enough tests. There might not be enough grading. And for them, they actually like grading because it tells them where they are. They might actually like competition because it motivates them. They might actually like having tests every week. I don't know. There's people who are different. And the point is, if you got into Yale, tests are probably not that big of a deal for you anyway. They might actually even help. So the Yale system can be a pro or a con. I kid you not when I say first few months, I was actually a little bit daunted by the Yale system. I didn't know what to do with my free time. I didn't know what I was supposed to do. But once I figured it out, I loved it. But some people might not. So just take the Yale system with a grain of salt. It comes with a lot of freedom, but it also means it comes with a lot of responsibility, and you have to be ready for that. Con number 2, and the last con of Yale, is actually the fact that it's located in New Haven. I mean, I'm from a big city. I've lived in a big city my whole life. I love big cities, and New Haven is just not a big city. And I personally don't like it here as much as I did in the Bay Area. And honestly, if I was just living here and I was not a med student, I don't think I would like the environment here very much, because some days I wake up and I look out the window, and I'm looking out the window right now, and it's just empty outside. There's not many people on the streets, and that might be a function of the fact that it's winter. It might also be fact that New Haven's a smaller city, but I just don't like that vibe as much. And so if you're from a big city, you like New York, you like San Francisco, you like the Bay Area, you just want to consider that New Haven actually isn't that big of a city, and there aren't the things that you would expect New York to have in New Haven. If anything, we have like 1 or 2 streets that have, you know, a decent amount of things to do, and it's a nice cozy city. It's not that I hate it, just that it's not the Bay Area. It's also not a big city. The other thing about a small city, it also means that it's hard to get around. So even though there's stuff accessible nearby, New Haven's also a food desert. So when I want to get groceries, it's really hard because I have to ask a friend to drive me over because the closest Trader Joe's is 10 to 15 minutes away. It's also not very good for our patients. A lot of our patients live in a food desert where their easiest way to get vegetables is from Walgreens, and they're in a can. So, you know, that's something that I think New Haven needs to improve on in general. And that also is one of the cons, because every 3 weeks I have to plan my grocery trips around my friends because I don't have a car, and getting around without a car here can be really challenging. But the good part is New York is 2 hours away by train, so if you wanted to ever go during the weekend, which a bunch of my friends do, you can. Boston is also really close, so, you know, big cities are close, so if you want that environment, you can go. I have friends who go to New York all the time. Let's do a brief highlight. 3 pros, 2 cons. First pro, Yale system, a lot of freedom, your ability to take exams whenever you want, not as much pressure on you, really self-motivated, really gives you a lot of freedom to do what you want. Want to be a student and go to class from 8 to 5 every day? You can do that. If you don't want to do that and you want to just go to the stuff that's required, you can also do that. Summary number 2, the fact that there's no competition here, I love it. No grades, no ranking. And pro number 3 is just the culture here. I love the culture. Everyone respects each other, everyone loves each other, everyone cares for each other, including the administration. And to summarize the cons, con number one is again the Yale system. So if you are a student that likes structure, if you are a student that likes having a syllabus, if you are a student that likes checklists, if you are a student that needs to be in class to get things done, Yale might not be the place for you, because Yale, as much as there is a lot of structure, there's also a lot of freedom, and that freedom can be inhibitory for a lot of people. As I said, the people that get into Yale, again, might not even be people who do well with freedom, because the people get into Yale are good test takers. They do well when they're given a checklist. And if that's you, it might be important for you to think about, like, is this really the type of culture you want to be in? Because there's a lot of freedom, and while that comes with a lot of benefits, it comes with a lot of responsibility. And again, it may not be the place for everyone. Con number two is New Haven. I'm from a big city. I personally don't like New Haven that much. If you're from a smaller city, you may love New Haven. That's why when you interview here, when you come to New Haven, it's very important to get to know the city. If you enjoy it, you'll like it. If not, it's totally fine. I don't like it as much, but I don't care that much because I'm studying all the time, hang out with friends, and I love it. So that's that. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, drop a like, comment, share, and subscribe. I really appreciate the fact that you guys have been supporting me. And let's get to 10,000. Let's do it, baby. See you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.